Welcome to the Chapter 2, Part 2 for this subject, General Psychology. Now, we're going first to discuss what traits are. Trait is a distinguishing quality or characteristic typically belonging to a person. Now, each of us are different. We are all unique. These traits refers to physical traits such as color of the eyes, shape of the nose, if you have a muscular body, if you have a bony body, or anything that you can observe from a person, any characteristic of a person. Now, since we're talking about psychology, this trait that we're talking about refers to behavioral trait. But first, we're going to discuss the traits in a biological perspective or in the eyes of biology. Now, traits are being carried by genes. Gene is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. So it is the most basic unit in genetics, in what we call this, in inheritance of a person. So genes are made up of DNA. So if there's a single strand of DNA, it's made up of plenty of genes. Some genes act as instructions to make molecules called protein. However, many genes do not code for proteins. Now, these genes, as it was being said, that it's an instruction. So here, genes, it's like a code. So if you look closely in the structure of the DNA is composed of different chemicals in which combined it forms a gene, and these genes becomes the what we call this, the source of instructions on which part of a cell, or if that cell should have let's say more muscles, the color of it should be, for example, is if it's a cell in the eye, then it affects the colors of the eye. So basically, gene refers to um, the carrier of instruction on how our body should be structured. But not all genes carry instructions for the production of proteins. Some are made for um, others, like special skills. Let's say if you have the genes of a player, so your genes is structured to have a superior physical structure. But if your genes is made up of, let's say, um, an intelligent person, so there are less genes that will instruct your cells to produce proteins for your physical structure, but rather for the mental capability, which is for your brain. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It is the hereditary material in humans, and almost all other organisms has it. So the difference between the DNA of a human and the DNA of other living things, such as, let's say, plants or dogs, is that the DNA of a human is much longer, because there are plenty of instructions. There are plenty of genes. We have much more, way more um, genes than other organisms. Chrom- Chromosomes are thread-like structures located inside the nucleus of animal and plant cells. Each chromosome is made of protein and a single molecule of DNA. It is passed from parents to offspring, and DNA contains the specific instructions that make each type of living creature unique. If you're going to look at this diagram, gene is a part of the DNA, is a segment of DNA. So there are plenty of genes in a single strand of DNA. So the DNA is also a part of the chromosome. Chromosomes contains the the codes on how the nucleus will direct the other parts of a cell. Now, germ cells for humans refers to sperm and egg cells. Every human cell has 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes, but for germ cells, when mature, it has only 23 chromosomes, not pairs. The combination will have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes. So these are the chromosomes. If the chromosomes separate, then it becomes a single germ cell with 23 chromosomes. So this happens only, this separation, mitosis, is only unique to germ cells, which is the sperm cells and egg cells of a human. So after it becomes a sperm or an egg cell, it then unites. So when it unites, the 23 chromosomes of the sperm and the 23 chromosomes of the egg unites, forming the complete number of chromosomes for a person, which is 23 pairs of chromosomes. So a dominant gene is one whose characteristics will show up when paired with another gene. A recessive gene is one whose characteristics will not be observable when it is paired with a dominant gene. So dominant gene, yun yung nakikita mo na characteristic, physical characteristic sa isang tao. Well, in this case, we can also refer to the non-physical characteristics. Inheritance of intelligence and inheritance of behavior. So how does these biological aspects affect our behavior? I mean, how does this genes, DNA, chromosomes, and others affect our behavior? Now, genes shape our body structure and in turn shape our temperament. Temperament is our attitude as a child. It's either if we are aggressive, needy, or other usual behaviors of a child. But these attitudes are not set in stone. These temperaments are influenced by outside factors such as surroundings, people we talk, experiences, lifestyle, and others. Now, these factors, or all of these factors, shape our end behavior. And in relation to intelligence, inheritance of intelligence, the structure of our brains is the basis for it. So, biological structure, the biological aspect. If our brain is structured to have a better memory, better in sports, better in singing or dancing, or radical thinking, logical thinking, or whatever. I mean, not radical, rational rather. then the genetic inheritance plays a huge role on the inheritance of intelligence. Even our ability to think logically, to resort to violence or other behaviors is based on how we think, and it is all processed in the brain. So, inheritance of intelligence is possible. The biological aspects, such as the genes, our parents, heredity, and our behavior, also in return or in in effect has has a connection with our biological inheritance. So for this week, let's stop here, and we have ended chapter 2. So what I'm going to want you to do, what I want you to do, so what I want you to do is to list 3 personality traits that you have inherited from your parents and decide if you should develop it. Explain why you have to develop it or not. It does not necessarily have to be a positive personality trait. Of course, deadline is one week. Good luck.